I just spoke of Hashimoto, and this match is a bit of a tribute to Hashimoto. It's called a Super Dream Tag Team match. Masahiro Chono and Keiji Mutoh team up against Hiroyoshi Tenzan and Satoshi Kojima. So all four of these guys have obviously long storied careers, and I mean, delving into the background of just one of them is worthy of discussion. So, for the sake of brevity, here's a quick recap with kind of a focus on the relationships that these guys have shared together. With Chono and Mutoh, they debuted for New Japan in a match against one another. That was in 1984. And both men toured the world to hone their craft, but came together again in 1990 to win the tag titles. By this time, they, Chono, Mutoh, along with Hashimoto, were already recognized as the Three Musketeers. And in 1991, so I guess if it's not obvious, by Three Musketeers, it's kind of, they were pointed at as the future of the company. And it didn't take long. Chono beat Mutoh in the final of the first G1 Climax tournament. That was 1991. And all three of them celebrated in the ring afterwards. But they would not necessarily stay so close. Chono won the G1 the next year as well. And this time the prize was being the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. In 1992, Mutoh headlined the first January 4th Tokyo Dome show as his alter ego, developed in the US, the Great Muta. He and Sting defeated the Steiner brothers in what was the second New Japan WCW Super Show. Mutoh, as Great Muta, would go on to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship from Riki Choshu, and he would once again main event the January 4th Tokyo Dome event, this time defeating Chono for the NWA World title in a title versus title match. So, their friendship and rivalry continued at the top of New Japan cards until Mutoh's shock defection to All Japan in 2002, along with his opponent, actually. Kojima left at the same time. More recently, Chono won the 2005 G1 Climax tournament for the fifth time, which is a record-setting fifth time, winning the G1 Climax. He's currently, he was the leader of Black New Japan, which won the Tag League in 2006, right at the end of last year. And, of course, with Nakamura, as mentioned. Mutoh challenged Kojima for the Triple Crown in 2005, unsuccessfully. Then he revived the Great Muta to try again in 2006, but Kojima retained again. In the 2006 Real World Tag League, so that's All Japan, Mutoh and Kawada tied for points with Tenzan and Kojima. They actually share a similar origin story as well. Kojima entered as their opponents, Kojima entered the New Japan Dojo in February of 1991, and he debuted a year later in a match against Hiroyoshi Yamamoto, who would later adopt the name Tenzan. Although Tenzan had debuted professionally himself earlier that year, and they went on to form a tag team by the end of the decade, but that only came after Tenzan's partner Chono was injured. They were Cho-Ten. And for this reason, because Tenzan had been tag champion with Chono 3 times. And then Mutoh recruited Kojima into NWO Japan. Actually, all 4 of these guys were a part of NWO Japan. But Kojima and Tenzan kind of struck instant success with a tag team title win it was their first try in the Dome, 1999. And they would continue as a tag team, but saw individual success as well. So Tenzan won his first G1 Climax tournament and subsequently his first IWGP heavyweight title in 2003. By then, Kojima had moved on to All Japan, but it was not until 2005 when he achieved singles glory in the form of the Triple Crown title. Cripple Crown? I'm sorry. Triple Crown title in a victory over Toshiaki Kawada. And then 4 days later, Kojima faced Tenzan, who was in his third reign as IWGP champion, in a title versus title match, which you might notice is another parallel between these two teams, because that happened with Mutoh and Chono as well. And this one between Kojima and Tenzan was a classic because it was a 60-minute time limit, of course, and because both titles are on the line for both big companies, it looked like it was going to a 60-minute draw, which would have been a somewhat expected result, I suppose. But with, I think it was 11 seconds before the end of the time limit, Kojima wins and becomes the first person to hold both of those titles, the Triple Crown and the IWGP Heavyweight title, simultaneously. Tenzan took back the IWGP title a few months later, but then he lost it soon thereafter. He never had long title reigns. And Kojima's title reign ended with the Triple Crown, that is. That came to an end in 2006. And just before that, he announced his return to New Japan to compete in the G1. And then both of them together competed for the... they met again in the final of the G1 Climax. And Tenzan would not only defeat his friend and rival, but he won the tournament and was only the second to do so undefeated. And Tenzan then went on to form Great Bash Heel, but still chose to reunite with Kojima for the first time since 2002 as a team in the All Japan Tag League at the end of 2006, so just last month. And Tenkozy won. Well, not only did they claim victory, in fact, they became the first and only team to have won the main annual tag tournaments in New Japan and All Japan. So this is happening a lot recently, these firsts, these simultaneous firsts between the two companies, obviously because they've just started working together. But yeah, history is being made around this time, and these guys have been a big part of the last couple of decades of Japanese wrestling history. So Super Dream tag team match, I think, is apt, but I suppose I'll still introduce in each one. I mean, Kojima's in the black and orange, including his orange goggles. Tenzan is in the black, and he has horns. Chono's in his all blacks, well, kind of a Matrix-style outfit, actually. And Mutoh has a beautiful white coat over his black and white tights. The match begins with Mutoh rushing Tenzan with low drop kicks and shining wizards, attacking Kojima too and forcing them both to retreat outside momentarily. Tenzan returns and fights back with his signature Mongolian chops, enjoyed by the crowd who emulate Tenzan's hissing noises as he strikes. Soon it's Mutoh that needs a break beyond the ring. He rolls back in to tag Chono, then Tenzan simultaneously brings in Kojima. Chono is arguably a step slower than the other four and is beaten on before tagging back out. I mean, retirement's been on the table for Chono for at least a couple of years up until this point. But he and Mutoh dial back the years. Chono with a figure four on Tenzan, Mutoh with the crossface on Kojima. Mutoh takes over, continuing to work Tenzan's legs, partly with a figure four of his own. And he and Chono work together well to isolate Tenzan and wear him down. Kojima re-enters eventually with fire, though, and rapid-fire chops on Mutoh. And the fans enthusiastically yell, "Ichauzo Bakayaro!" Before, I hope I said that right. Before Kojima completes the signature sequence with the elbow drop, Chono tags in, lands a shoulder block from the top rope, stops Kojima again with a kick that resembles his Yakuza kick, but it does not have the same effect as that usually would. Tenzan's back in with chops, a rough bulldog from the top turnbuckle. Looks like Chono's about to attempt that Yakuza kick again when Tenzan counters with a wheel kick and a bit of an awkward slam. This triggers Mutoh to re-enter. Now it's Tenzan and Kojima that have both of their opponents in a submission hold simultaneously. They double team Chono with a sloppy looking Tenkoji cutter flapjack, and then I guess maybe they understood that they didn't quite nail that one, so they hit their Tenkoji driver right after that. Mutoh makes a save, but both men are down on the mat after... it takes both of them down until Kojima knocks Mutoh down with a lariat. Chono struggles back to his feet to mount some offense on Tenzan, but it's quickly countered, leading to a headbutt from the top rope. Once again, Mutoh has to make the save for Chono, but Kojima gives him a cutter, then dumps him out of the ring. Chono eats a heavy lariat from... before Kojima makes sure Mutoh stays out of the ring. And this allows Tenzan to hit the TTD. Tenzan tombstone driver right in the middle. Makes the pin, but rolls Chono up, breaking his own fall. Looking to make it... oh, right, because he's looking to make a point. He wants to do the moonsault. He lands the moonsault perfectly, but Chono kicks out, and the crowd excitedly gasp. Mutoh makes his return to the ring and fights both opponents off. A DDT on Kojima allows Chono space to do the same to Tenzan. Together they nail Tenzan with concurrent Shining Wizards. Mutoh makes sure Kojima stays busy while Chono locks in the STF on Tenzan, and it isn't long until he gives, slapping the mat in pain. The reaction at the end of this wasn't what one might hope for the finish for a Tokyo Dome match, or a Tokyo Dome main event, no less. But there was more to come. Mutoh and Chono tie their around their heads these long white headbands. There's a name for that. I forget what it is, but and they tie on like Shinya Hashimoto headbands. They point to the ceiling. So again, tribute to their fallen third musketeer, Shinya Hashimoto, who died 1.5 years earlier